You know, I'm always wondering why I'm standing up here. I'm gonna go bother Derek. Hey, yo, Derek!
Yeah.
Hey, yo, what's going on?
Nothing.
Cool. Hey, you ever get that feeling like you've been somewhere before?
What, like deja vu?
No, more specific than deja vu. Like you've been to a place before, like, you know you've never been there, but you can just swear it feels so familiar, like you've just been there, I don't know.
Yeah,
You never had that feeling?
Yeah,
Okay, well, you're obviously not very helpful. I've just been having this feeling for a while, and what the... Where am I?
Who doesn't love a good remade map? Some place you're familiar with and have had a lot of fun gets ported to the next game, or some future game in the series. And I don't really know many games that do that, but the one that I remember doing it the most was Halo. I mean, just in between the first and second game, there were a lot of shared maps. And I mean, hey, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. Some of those maps were amazing, and it was great to get to keep playing them. I'm just really appreciative of Bungie's consistency, making Halo feel very similar in between games, but also creating new iterations and new things that we could play with. Recently, I've been making some Halo maps of my own. You can go watch this video if you want to hear more about that. So to get some inspiration, I took a quick look around the workshop, and I noticed that there were a lot of remade maps from older games in the newer entries in the series. Specifically Halo 3, I was just amazed at how intricate and detailed all the maps were. There were a lot of older maps that just blew my mind walking around them. There was some great texture work, some great geometry, just the whole map had been overhauled. Unfortunately, it all did look a lot better than whatever 343 did with the Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer, which I was never that big of a fan of. I'm pretty sure I'm in the small minority of people that doesn't want to see Halo 3 get remastered. 343 has just never really done the remasters quite right. I don't think I've played a game with Anniversary graphics on in probably like 5 years. So thinking of them like remaking Halo 3 just doesn't sound that great to me. I mean, to begin with, Halo 3's graphics already hold up really well. That translation from the original Xbox to the Xbox 360 was so amazing for Halo's graphics. I don't even think I noticed any kind of artistic change in style. All I remember is just being blown away by how crisp everything looked. And yeah, going back and looking at Halo 2 and 1, it's obviously that they were trying to make some compromises for the graphical limitations at the time. I still think those games look amazing, but being able to see the raw 3D models and just how much they were able to get out of them is pretty impressive. It is entirely possible that I've been spending way too much time in Halo 1, and that's why these maps look so good, but I don't know, I was just really impressed. So I found 3 of the maps that were on the workshop, and I figured, hey, why don't we just look at some today? So today we're doing 3 remade maps in Halo 3. Alright, on to our first map, Resuscitation by Aerial Date. I thought that was a pretty clever name. So this is basically just a remake of Coagulation from Halo 2, and thus it has its roots in Halo 1's Blood Gulch. It's really impressive, and I think it's just amazing to see more Halo 3 looking textures in a map that wasn't really seen in Halo 3. I really miss Blood Gulch in Halo 3. I know that we got Valhalla, and that's an amazing map, but really there was just so much to Blood Gulch, or Coagulation at the time. But now in the form of mods, we can pretty much see what that would look like, and it's pretty amazing. It is interesting that the creator went with a more Coagulation style instead of Blood Gulch. I just thought everyone was kind of more of a fan of Blood Gulch since it was the classic, but I think having more of the Halo 2 style base structure really allows for the more complicated gameplay that Halo 3 has. Something that really interested me was the textures. I feel like there's been this evolving evolution of the cliffs in Halo. In Halo 1, it was this kind of like bright, saturated red color, and then in Halo 2, it went to this like red but almost grimy looking stone, and then in Halo 3, it went back to kind of the lighter shades, but it almost introduced more sand into it. Like it was brighter and dustier than the ones before. I assume this was just to account for all the different locations that each Halo game takes place on. Halo 1 was set on Installation 04, so it must have been the place with the kind of more clay-looking cliffs. Then Halo 2 was set on Delta Halo, which must have had the more grimy looking, which I think makes sense, because I think in the lore, the Flood actually overran Installation Delta, and then most of Halo 3 takes place on Earth, specifically Africa, so I guess the rock is supposed to represent a more sandy texture. Interesting what you can pick up on when you pay attention to 20-year-old video game textures. Yeah, I might have a problem. Other than the textures, pretty much everything else is here. The different caves, the rolling hills, the 2 bases. It's another one of those not very complex things that Halo does so well. Just 2 bases in the middle of a box canyon. It is kind of weird seeing the Halo 3 vehicles in this map. I guess my brain is just expecting to see the Halo 2 vehicles. But hey, now you can use a whole arsenal of Halo 3's vehicle sandbox on this map. The mongoose complements this map really well, so I'm really sad it wasn't introduced in Halo 2. A smaller vehicle that could get around fast and could carry 2 people people, I think is a good addition to a giant map like this. Anyway, let's move on to our next map, and it's called Warlock by Nextzilla. This is another one where there's been a couple iterations of it. In Halo 1, it was Wizard, then in Halo 2, it was Warlock, and now it's been remade again in Halo 3, and it's also called Warlock. And I just have to say again, the texturing is amazing. They've been able to bring something that was pretty crunchy from the other games and make it absolutely beautiful. There's so much more detail to this map. It kind of has that ancient stone texture that a lot of Halo 2 maps had, but here they just look really realistic. I don't know why, but somewhere in between Halo 1 and 2, they started making Forerunner architecture look more like ancient stone than just concrete metal. I assume that was just to give them variation and make it so they didn't have to keep making maps that were just gray metal rooms, but I actually really enjoyed a lot of Halo 2's maps that kind of had an ancient rock feeling. It gives the feeling that it's more like a dig site, like they're excavating these artifacts than just randomly happening upon them on the Halo ring. There's also this weird wet floor thing going on. I don't know, all the surfaces are really shiny, and I'm just assuming that it's supposed to be in this like dense rainforest, so everything's wet, but I just thought that was a really odd detail. And I feel like this map just does a great job with its environmental storytelling. You have this whole cutout section that just shows the outside, and you can see there's like a dense forest and some ancient structures out there. I'm assuming it was set on Delta Halo, as that's where the Halo 2 map was set, but it's really cool being able to see some fan-created ancient Forerunner architecture. I feel like Bungie never really realized how impactful their art style was. It seemed like they focused on the gameplay more than anything if you look at their old Vidocs, but I can't help to notice that their artistic style was just so powerful. It's pretty much lasted like over 20 years. I do like how it's supposed to be this ancient place, but they still have these more modern looking lights. Thought that was kind of funny. Although those are from the original Wizard map, so there you go. So yeah, I really like this map. I bet it's just as fun to play on as Wizard or the other Warlock map. I just thought aesthetically it was so striking. That's kind of what first came to mind when I launched into this map. So, okay, moving on to our next map. And it's Lockout by Nextzilla again. This is a big one for me, as I think Lockout might be one of my favorite Halo 2 maps. It just has that strange concrete box feeling that a lot of Halo 1 maps have, but it's just slightly more detailed because it's in Halo 2. Also, the gameplay is just really fast-paced, and it almost feels symmetrical. I don't know. I know that it's different on each side, but there's something just so memorable about the layout. It's probably one of my favorites, and it's been really faithfully recreated. You can tell there's a lot more emphasis on making it a Forerunner structure with different designs and patterns that just are really detailed and look really nice. I know that Blackout was supposed to be kind of the new version of this map when it came out as DLC for Halo 3, but I never really liked that map. Halo 3 had this weird habit of making all the aesthetics of each of the multiplayer maps very human looking. I don't know, I just felt like it lost all the interest and awe of walking around on an alien structure. You didn't wonder so much why this was here. You kind of always knew that it was just for some military purpose, which is kind of what a lot of the earlier military shooters did. Like everywhere you went, you could basically wave everything away by just saying, oh, it's because the military. But Halo was different. Halo had something weird about it. Some strange ancient aliens that built these weird structures you were running around on. And I feel like that just kind of disappeared when they started making maps like Blackout and Rat's Nest. I just think that's why I'm drawn to the older games anyway. My favorite thing about this map is the little flood containers they have down in the basement. As a kid, when I would walk around on the original Lockout, I would always go down here as it felt really creepy and had this very ominous vibe. The fact that there was a shotgun down there really made it feel like you need to grab it to protect yourself at any moment. And what's really cool about this map is they actually have flood in the little containers, which makes it really cool. Again, some great environmental storytelling, and I'm just really impressed. You know, I feel like this map does a really good job of giving that snowy Halo ring feel. It reminds me a lot of the last mission of Halo 3, where it's so cold and icy looking. It almost feels like it could be in the same place. Speaking of being in the same place, if you look across the map, you can see the map Narrows just sitting right across there. Narrows is a great map, and it's really cool. It's kind of referenced in this community map. Just for fun, I went to go see if you can see this map in Narrows, and of course you can't. But I did find out that in Narrows Skybox, there's another Narrows right across the way. So yeah, they probably just used Narrows Skybox for this map, but I think it's cool thinking that Lockout's just a little bit farther away from another classic Halo map. And I think that about wraps it up. I came into this looking for some inspiration, and I think I found it. These maps were great to look at and really accentuate Bungie's style, which I feel like when making Halo maps is really important to think about, as that is kind of what makes a Halo map a Halo map. The Steam Workshop just makes me really happy. The fact that we finally got a place to share all of our creations, to finally put effort towards a game that we've all loved for so long, is just really awesome to see. I know many people, including myself, have been wanting to make maps for these games for probably their entire lives. And before, they really only had custom edition to do that, but now basically the door's been blown wide open on all the classic Halo games. And that just feels so freeing to have all these modding tools at our fingertips and to create something for stuff that you're passionate about. It's just just a really good feeling. I know that I've just kind of started working on this stuff, and I have a lot to learn, but it's so inspiring just seeing everyone working on their own projects. It's a really good time to be a Halo fan, and I know there's been some kind of negative voices about Halo's kind of dying, and there really isn't anything new coming out that's even worth paying attention. I think if you love the old stuff, just stick to the old stuff. There's no reason to get riled up about the newer product not being as good, because it does have a lot of competition to stand up to. And I think that's important to remember. Here's hoping that Halo will live on forever through the community and what we make. Hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.